I was making a salad in my kitchen about 2 months ago, and I put on Conscious TV, and you were the person that popped up, so I chose you. And I listened, I was listening, couldn't understand a word you were saying, but I liked the way I felt when I was listening to you. And about 5 minutes into it, I haven't actually told, I've only told 2 people this in my life, so I'm a little bit nervous, but what I heard you say, and I'm not sure if you actually said this, is I heard you say, or experiencing. And I came to the TV and my little iPad thing, and I was listening. And I turned away, and I was aware of, I can't really describe it, but I was really, really aware that there was something around me that was alive and being, really. It didn't scare me. I thought, oh. And then I thought, then I went back up and listened, and I thought, I get that. I said, I get that. I got it. And I carried on making my salad. And as I was going, I was like, oh, I am experiencing, I'm being experienced by the experiencer, is how I described it to my husband. And although I don't really get that now, but that's how it felt at the time. And then 20 minutes later, I went to work. I kept experiencing the experiencer. And then at the end, my husband was taking me out to see a rock concert. I thought, oh, it's probably going to go now, Anyway, it stayed. I was definitely, it was a really, really amazing outside. It was pretty trippy anyway, but I was definitely felt very different. And then something during the evening struck me is that I was observing myself observing this, and it was a loud concert, but I was really shocked at one point when I realised the silence that had just been introduced to you a few hours before was louder than the concert. So I thought, that's amazing, that's never happened to me before. Anyway, I told my husband it was the most magical evening of my life. He didn't really know why, and I went to sleep, and I kind of felt, that was amazing. And I woke up this morning, I wasn't sure if it was still there, the feeling or whatever. And then a little bit later, it was. And then second day, third day, Anyway, and it's been 2 months, a little bit over 2 months. After a little bit, I tried to find the annals of my mind, somebody that had taught satsang, who was a friend. He stayed with us while he was teaching. So I found him and called him. And I've been talking to him, and he's helped me make sense of this. I've noticed during the time, haven't felt fear, even though my heart's beating now, I've even jumped into cold springs and my heart doesn't beat. They don't trigger with the water. I haven't felt fear, haven't felt particularly joy, to be honest. I haven't really felt my body, haven't really felt my heart. But the non-fear is pretty interesting. And I suppose peaceful, the stable. I felt it's very, very stable and very neutral. So that's the upside of it. And obviously I can meditate for the first time in my life, actually sit and feel fantastic. But the downside is no one knew what I was talking about. Not that I've really mentioned, I begin to mention it, and I realise this is not, I can't say anything, this person's looking not happy.
I know that glazed over look so well.
Yes, or even angry. One of my best friends, she looked at the ground, and she's never ever not been open with me about anything I've said or done. And she said, I need you to be, I don't know what she said, but she didn't want to hear it. And I said, oh, what do I do? Anyway, so the downside is that I felt not lonely. Actually, loneliness went. But I felt an aloneness.
Sure. Also,
for the first 2 weeks, I understand this morning, if it actually answered so many questions this morning, but this, because the non-feeling thing, that was, what was that? And also the time thing. I have not worn a watch since I was 21, so I've got very good intuitive knowing what time is. That completely went, so that makes sense. I'd sit and have dinner with my son for about 2 hours and realise I completely missed his piano lesson or something, And it was beginning to really annoy my husband. In fact, it infuriated him. which is how I could tell I didn't trigger when someone got angry, because he got angry a lot, and he never does normally. And my son got very angry as well with me. And the downside is that I think on some level they felt that I pulled out in my heart. And the other downside is when my husband used to come back from work, it was a happy trigger. It was a joyful, that's completely gone. And then when I saw my own son, I'd be all like that, that's gone too. So what I decided to do, because he said, you've got to get yourself together, I can't keep clearing up, and it was so tempting just to go into this and not come back, but I'm a committed mother and, wife, so I had to keep putting myself, trying to get it together. So I've got to watch, and I just have it all the time. I think before I was scared I was going to buy into time and close myself out, but now it doesn't matter. And I can do all the things before that I didn't want to do before because I didn't like how it made me feel small or something, which is not all the things, but I mean some of the things. Also going to meetings is different because I don't have a victim there to talk about what I need to sort of heal or look at. So what I decided to do is just go anyway, and then actually within this 12 steps, there is a 12th step that says having had a spiritual awakening, which I just thought was a sort of hopeful, sweet little thing that didn't really exist. I don't know, I just used to think, well, I haven't had a spiritual awakening, I don't know why that step's there. But I'm realising, I was hoping that it being in the steps, there'd be more people in 12 step that had this, but I'm realising it's pretty rare. So that's a bit sad too, really. And the other thing is that I do have feelings, but they're behind, sounds a bit odd, this is probably have different language after this retreat, but the only language I can use is they're behind a membrane. They're still here, but whatever this is here.
Yeah.
And of course this is so much nicer, but these are my friends and kind of got me through. I'm tired now. I don't know what else to say.
Okay.
I do have a question, but I'd kind of like to hear some feedback, I guess.
Okay. You said at some point early on something like, I experienced myself being experienced. You said something, I experienced experiencing myself or something. So what happened in that experience? And it was something that happened spontaneously in you. In fact, it was triggered. You were listening to a talking conscious TV. You thought you weren't understanding it, but actually you were understanding it, and it triggered this experience in you. And it to use the language that we're using here, it, as it were, threw you back into awareness. Normally, our experience consists of thoughts, feelings, images, bodily sensations, perceptions, and what we consider to be ourself, me, is this bundle of thoughts, feelings, and sensations, and everything that is not that is separate from myself. So we feel that what we are is basically the body-mind, thoughts, feelings, and sensations. And something about this conversation that you heard triggered not the idea, but the actual experience in you. It triggered the experience, oh, I am the one that is looking at all of that. I'm aware of my thoughts, but I'm not myself a thought. My thoughts flow by. I am the witness of my thoughts. And actually, that's true of my feelings as well. All my feelings come and go, they flow past, but I am there watching them. And in fact, the same is true of my sensations. In other words, what you took yourself to be changed in that moment. You were you suddenly recognized, I am that which is experiencing thoughts, feelings, and sensations, rather than I am a collection of thoughts, feelings, and sensations. And this accounts for the peace that accompanied this experience. Your description of the rock concert that evening. The rock concert is, one of the loudest experiences, one of the most agitated experiences you can have. I know exactly what you're referring to because my 16-year-old son loves soccer, And 2 or 3 times a season we go to watch games together. We go to Wembley and watch England playing when there are 80,000 people singing and chanting, and comparable to a rock concert. And I sometimes sit there with exactly the same experience that you described, and you described it very nicely. The silence in which all of this is appearing is louder than the noise. And I feel this terrific volume and vibration at Wembley Stadium. 80,000 people, guys, singing at the top of their mind, all appearing in this ocean of silence. It's so peaceful. The peace is temporarily disturbed when England have a goal scored against them, but it's very quickly restored again. So this is what you were experiencing at the rock concert. And you discover that the peace for which you have been longing all your life, it's present in the background. It's what you are. It's present in the background of your experience, even in the midst of that very agitated experiences at the rock concert, or when your husband comes back from work and he's mad at you. It leaves the background of awareness untouched. You hear it, you relate to him, but there's something in you which is undefended. You said that you no longer defend it against when you go to your meetings. You no longer feel that you have something to defend or prove, because the person, by the person I mean the old identity, the bundle of thoughts, feelings and sensations. The person needs continual protecting, and it also needs continual fulfillment, hence the desire for objects, substances, etc. But now you've recognized, I am this witnessing awareness in the background. That's the true me. It's not that I'm not all of this as well, but what I am most essentially is this background of awareness which is experiencing all of this. And although all of this may be agitated thoughts, you still have thoughts and feelings and reactions, but in the background there is this peaceful witnessing presence, and you know that that is what you are, and so you can't be disturbed anymore by your husband's anger or your and this is very disturbing for your husband and your son and your friends, because their identity depends, at least to a certain extent, on you being a certain way. So in these kind of mutually dependent relationships between intimate partners and parents and children, you play a certain role. Now you've suddenly stopped playing that role. You've stopped being the reactive, emotional, or whatever it is you were. You're still the same person that you were, but you're in touch with the peace. So you don't respond anymore when your husband gets mad at you or your son. You respond appropriately, but you're not really fazed by it. And that is threatening to them. Why? Not because they mind that you're different, because it threatens their identity. It makes them feel insecure.
Yeah.
The reason why your girlfriend that looked down at the ground, she and you have this, this relationship. It's years old. She knows exactly. She can rely on you. You're solid. You're reliable. Now suddenly you are no longer mirroring back to her what she wants to have mirrored about herself, and it's freaking her out. What's your name?
Kate.
Kate.
Sorry.
She wants her old friend Kate to be exactly the way she always was, because that will allow her to be exactly the way she always is. So these people are feeling very threatened by this new, and it's a sort of distance. People will sometimes say, for instance, that they find you aloof, that you don't care anymore, because you're not so invested in your own emotional reactions. It doesn't mean to say that you don't have reactions and emotions, but your investment that's not me. That's just an old conditioned habit that is still running in you, but will wind down in time because you're no longer feeding it with the belief, this is what I essentially am, this is where I derive my identity. This is your identity now, in the background, this peaceful, witnessing presence of awareness. So it's to be expected that the people at your family and friends and colleagues and the people in your meeting don't welcome this change in you, which is puzzling to you because you're at peace and you're happier than you've ever been. Why wouldn't they love that? Why? It's because they feel very threatened by it. They feel that, I can't remember what you said, that you said your husband or your son felt that you've disappeared.
I pulled out.
You've pulled out,
said,
exactly. You've pulled out.
Yes.
That's a very good description. It's like you've pulled out of your family life. You've gone into the background. You don't seem to care. You don't seem to mind. You don't seem to get upset anymore. You haven't really pulled out. You're actually, from this position that you're describing, a much greater intimacy is possible, because the relationship is no longer between two collections of thoughts and feelings trying to either protect, each one trying to protect itself, or in the case of an intimate relationship, each one trying to fulfill itself through the other. So it does change the basis of a relationship. And if one person has this experience and another person doesn't, it can be, and very often is, precipitates a crisis in the relationship, and it's exactly what you're experiencing. So it needs to be handled very sensitively. Your husband, your son, your girlfriend that you describe, they cannot understand what you're talking about. It's foreign. And for that reason they want to reject it. They just think, come back, Kate, we want you like we want you like we know you. Then we want to go back to the old family, how it was. So that's a crisis for you. That's I mean, you can see that it's a problem, but it's not a crisis that need end in separation. It can be, if you understand. First of all, it's important to understand what's happened to you, so that you see, I'm not crazy. I haven't lost my mind. What I'm talking about. Was there anyone in this room who did not understand or relate to what Kate said? There are plenty of people that share your experience. Whereas the world that you're in at the moment, if I had asked them, is there anybody in this room who understands what Kate said, they would have all have said, no, we don't know. So what you're experiencing is not strange. It's very common, but it's not common in the world that you've been accustomed to. So you're going to have to negotiate that sensitively. And you're going to have to try to both explain to your family and demonstrate to your family that you haven't pulled out, that you haven't, your love is as it always was. In fact, without the interference of the ups and downs of emotions and reactivity, you're actually much more available to love. It is this understanding that allows for more intimacy in relationship. However, it's difficult if one person has this understanding and another person doesn't. So you will have to find ways to both explain to your husband and demonstrate to your husband. And the latter is more important than the former. People want explanations as well. So it's useful to be able to articulate your experience. And to articulate your experience, you need to understand what's happened. So I'm now giving you the rational interpretation of what's happened, what's happened to you, so that you can. It gives you an understanding. Something's happened spontaneously to you. You didn't understand what you heard on conscious TV, but it precipitated the experience. Now your mind has to catch up with what's happened, so that you can begin to integrate it in your everyday life.
Yeah.
And you're doing exactly the right thing by coming here and asking about it, because you are, not only are you going deeper into the experience, that this morning's meditation was, I was trying, within the limits of language, to describe the qualities that are inherent, that you have discovered, the qualities of peace and imperturbability, of this background presence. You are going to have to find a language of your own. But coming here, you're being given a language, a context for what's happened. So not only will you go deeper into that as a result of this retreat, you'll also find a language in which makes sense of your experience to yourself, and then also can begin to explain it to other people.
Yes, I'm going to steal pretty much everything, what I can remember of what you said, yes, with the screen and everything.
Yes, the screen is the image that sometimes this presence, this witnessing presence, the one that is experiencing, is the analogy that is sometimes used is like an open, empty space in which the space, like the space of this room, it can't be disturbed. It's inherently peaceful. The image I prefer is the screen and the movie.
Yeah,
your really thoughts and feelings, they all carry on, but the screen itself is peaceful. So you're being given both tools to go further into the experience, but also a context and a language to explain it, first of all to yourself, and then to help you explain it, and therefore integrate it in your life with your family and your friends and your colleagues.
Yeah, hopefully.
And it takes time, and it's not easy.
Yeah.
It will require a great deal of sensitivity and patience and tolerance on your part, and the onus is on you, not your husband.
Yeah, no, I know
because
that.
You do understand, you have
enough
understanding of what's going on, and he doesn't, and that's not his fault.
No.
Until each of us had this experience that you described, none of us would have understood what we were talking about. So you have a broader perspective than him. So from that place, you and your son and your friends, you and this would come naturally to you. You want to be compassionate and to do your very best. And it will provoke resistance and anger and fear. Your husband will feel that he's losing you. So it requires a lot of sensitivity.
Yeah. Thank you. I did have a question in all that. And I just wanted to say as well that I did manage to sort of pull myself together after about 3 weeks, remembering I really want to do this household life, and it's really important to me. So what I do is I'm almost being an actress. I'm remembering that my little boy likes to be hugged, and I'll hug him and kiss him like I used to, but there used to be a tinge of neediness from me when I did it. Now there isn't.
Perfect.
So I'm pretending, and it's working great. They can't tell, but I do, there is love, it's just not love for the individual. It's
but that's exactly, when you said I'm pretending, it doesn't feel like a pretense, because there is real love there.
It's different from before, though.
But it's because the neediness.
Yeah.
We normally equate neediness and love.
Yeah.
In fact, need and love are mutually exclusive.
Right.
So actually, that is why I said there's greater potential for intimacy from the perspective that you're talking about, because it's not a relationship of need anymore. I'm not saying that it was just that with your son, you and your son, obviously, but there was an element of that. He needed you, and you needed him, and we're sometimes afraid that if we no longer need, couples are very often afraid, for instance, that if they no longer need each other, they won't go on loving each other. I mean, it's a wonderful thing to be able to say to your intimate partner that you love deeply and want to live with it. To be able to say, I don't need you. My happiness is not dependent on you. Now, most people, if they heard that, would be freaked out because they want to be needed. They want to be the cause of your happiness.
Yeah.
That's a recipe for a disaster in a relationship. So to be able to say to your intimate partner, I love you deeply. I don't want to go anywhere. I love this relationship. I want to be with you, but I don't need you. And my happiness is not dependent on you. That is most people would be very threatened by that.
Well, I have said that, because I didn't have a lot of tact at the beginning.
A lot of
tact.
Yes.
Before
yes.
I was terribly tactful.
Yeah.
That fell away.
Yes.
My English
because your tactfulness was part of your persona.
Yes.
But your identity is no longer invested in your persona. It's invested in the real you, which doesn't need somebody else's approval. You're happy to say it how it is. I love you, but I don't depend on you.
Yeah. But he was okay with it. And he's actually way more into spirituality and satsang and stuff like that than I was. I was much more into just being in recovery and making sure I didn't relapse and, give back and all that stuff.
Yes,
so he gets it.
You see, when you're in recovery, you're safe for him. This is way more threatening.
Yes, I know. Yeah.
Because when you're in your recovery, you're old Kate.
Yeah, getting well. That's my
getting well, and your relationship has kind of dovetailed. He the loving, caring, protective, and I don't mean that disparaging. I'm sure he's very loving, caring, and protective. But the identity of the carer and the protector can only stand as long as Kate is the vulnerable one in recovery.
Yeah.
But if Kate is the one who is peaceful and doesn't need anyone for her happiness, then what happens to the carer, the protector? He no longer has a role. In other words, he feels that his own identity is threatened by you, and he will get angry with you and try to make you again the person you once were, so that he can be the person that he believes he is, the carer, the protector, the strong one, the stable one. So your change is going to precipitate a crisis in him, and you have to help him go through that, because it's a beautiful opportunity for him. It's an opportunity for his identity to expand in the way that yours has. Although everything at the moment he will be wanting to contract, and he'll be wanting to have you back how you used to be, with all your difficulties, with all your problems, with all your... He'd rather have you like that than Kate, who doesn't depend on anyone for her happiness.
Yeah. The only saving grace for us, I think, was wonderful, is he's a wonderful person. I do love him, do want to stay with him, definitely, is that he's slightly Aspergery, which used to be difficult for me because I was the Mrs. Feelings and he was... Yeah. Now, he really understands the sort of the non-personal part of this for me. Yeah. And I think that's probably going to be that he has got that, so that helps on some level to not take it so personally, hopefully.
Yes, but the symptoms that an Asperger's person has and the symptoms that you're talking about, although they may share something superficially, that they're different.
Yeah, I'm not saying he is, but he's slightly, he's got that slightly bit. Anyway, but yes, you're right, and I have to say that he's got on board with this, and he's gone from contractive and angry to... My son did it first, really just decided he loved hanging out with mummy, really never as much as he used to, and he's expanded more too, my husband. So I'm here busily trying to understand what on earth, so it's great. I have somebody that can, the book, and I'll read it. I actually didn't even see your satsangs or anything. I just realised that, anyway, I don't know. So this is the question. One of the main reasons I was coming is... I think he just wants me to be a normal wife, doesn't want to hear any more of my observations, which is totally fine. And I do have a really, really good best friend that I can talk to about this. And so she's willing to listen to all, so that I have an outlet with her. And I have that spiritual satsang teacher as well, which is great. But what's been coming to me is that about 4 or 5 weeks into this, I suddenly thought to myself, because I was whole happy with the consciousness, I understood. I've read loads of books since then, by the way. I just... fed it, and to me it's love, and the love is intelligent and all that kind of stuff. I was going along, and then I suddenly thought, well, what if this is a construct? What if this consciousness and this love that I'm feeling, like this peace, that's also doing something in a way? And I don't know, really, I'm trying to use your language, and I'm only just learning it, so I could be saying it wrong, but in layman's terms, that sort of lifted as a reality. Another one came in, which was more, really, really hard to describe it, but it's not an active loving, an active peaceful, it's just a deep, dark black hole, basically, but of goodness, of loveliness, that I feel I want to go into. I want to go deeper and deeper and deeper down into that bit, and not just keep here in case I lose it or something. Do you know what I mean? I feel like I'm being invited to go deeper,
yes,
which was my real reason for coming here,
yes,
so that I can go, because I find that around people like yourself, I can go down there.
yes.
And usually I don't like what they say, so I put earplugs in and then I just meditate. So do you know what I'm talking about?
Yes, I do know what you're talking about, but I would encourage you to go more deeply into it.
Okay.
And you'll need some support, because the world that you're in, your family, your circle, your work, are not going to, they're not going to understand you, but nor they're not just going to be neutral. They're going to be a little bit hostile for the reasons that we've already, and you need support. So that's why a situation such as this is very supportive.
This is an intuitive thing, that I think I got to a stage a few weeks into it, and I suddenly had this thought of what if the screen is a concept? Okay, I've got that, because I know a screen is a thing, but what I was describing as is, what if this feeling of love and consciousness is a layer, and there's another one underneath, and I got this feeling of that there was something else. There was another knowing. Well, same knowing, but a different form of the knowing that I hoped that I would be able to really go into in the retreat, and I have. I'm going into it, but it's different from this. This is light and lovely and feels really amazing, and this other one seems quite deep and a little bit scary.
Yes.
Does that make sense?
When you said it's light and lovely, it's in the traditions it's called the Ananda Maya Kosha. It's the feeling of happiness, which is like the last layer.
Right.
It has a subtle objective. It's very lovely, as you say, and therefore is quite seductive.
Right.
But don't rest in the feeling of happiness. Go deeper.
That's what I want to do.
Because although it is in a way the expression of pure awareness, it is still a feeling. Yeah. And if we rest in that feeling, if we're seduced by the feeling, the feeling, like everything, will go. And when the feeling of happiness goes, we will plunge into depression again. So don't invest yourself.
No, I've got that.
Enjoy the feeling of happiness, but say, and as you are doing, say, no, I want to go deeper. There's something behind the feeling of happiness, which has no qualities of its own, and therefore you describe it as dark and frightening. It's not dark and frightening. It's only dark and frightening for the mind. I'm using mind in the conventional sense. For the mind that has invested its identity in objects.
Yeah.
So for the mind, for the conventional mind, it is scary because it has no qualities. It feels like an abyss.
Yeah.
But it's not an abyss. It's just the absence of objects. In fact, it is the true peace, not the feeling of peace. It is, and you can't even call it peace is too much. No. You literally cannot say anything about it.
I know what it is. All I know is when I think about it, and I'm on my own, my chin. My face goes a bit funny, almost as if I'm about to just meet the person that I love most in the world that I've never seen before or something. You are about to
meet the person you most love.
Yes.
You are about to meet that for which you have deeply longed all your life.
Yes.
And just go there. When you feel the fear, instead of contracting, your fear is telling you don't go there. It's the ego is saying I don't want to die.
Yeah.
Basically, just say no. I just give yourself. Just be courageous.
Yeah.
Just say take me.
Okay.
Just take me. Surrender into it.
Right.
Let's leave it. Let's leave it at that, because I think that's the next step for you to have confidence to surrender into that.